with Janine from Life is a Beach, and today I'm with Murad Ismail from Seastay Play, from Amrho Tourism, from Fly2K, and from many different tourism brands that have all been combined into one. Welcome, Murad.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the brands and a little bit about you. I think is always a good start.
Okay, we like famous brands, you know. We got a lot of brands, so a couple of them are, Seastay Play, which is our radio and television section, which is on internet based, and it goes everywhere.
And of course, it's tourism based, so you cover all kinds of tourism.
Yeah. And then we have at the other end of the spectrum, we got an airline side, because that's always put on the pedestal normally. So we have a company called Nikicom, which has brands again inside there of Fly2K, Amrho, and Tamiffield, and it's got a variety of things that it does. Basically, we run charter flights internationally, and we're busy with the domestic license applications as well as international schedule applications. So there's a couple of delays, as you know.
Tell me a little bit about the difference between a scheduled airline and a charter airline.
Okay, a scheduled airline, if you're thinking of the word schedule on its own, can be misleading, because a charter airline can also be scheduled to do things. So a schedule is like your roster. It doesn't tell you whether it's a scheduled airline or
a charter airline.
Yes, it's a misnomer.
Okay.
So the traditional wording is a scheduled air service. Then you understand it very clearly.
Okay.
So a charter airline will have a non-scheduled air service.
So now, if for instance you decide, and not you but as a company, you'd like to put together some packages to fly to different places within Africa or South Africa, you can actually tell people when it will be leaving.
Yes,
so there's a bit of a mix of both.
Because otherwise it'll be very difficult for the passenger to arrive on the airport on time. And as you know, even if you're flying non-scheduled services or scheduled, you need to have a slot. So the airport has to know when you're going to leave and when you're going to arrive, and you need to have a clearance if you're flying internationally. So you'd have to plan all this in advance, and then you have to market your product. So it's no different to what TUI or Thomas Cook does when they're on a charter package, and they market, okay, we're leaving 20 flights on these following periods, and we're going to now fly.
So one of the most exciting things I think about your particular airline is you can look at things like the Hajj. We were talking about the Hajj earlier.
Yes.
And with Hajj, you know when it's leaving. So you can schedule flights to fly, to take people to the Hajj, but scheduled in terms of charter.
Yeah, but I don't want to use the word schedule because it confuses people.
Confuses people,
I would say
absolutely.
Another word for schedule is planned.
Planned. Oh, that's a good one.
So you can say you're scheduled to go, or you plan to go. It's the same meaning.
It's the same meaning, absolutely.
Right. But the word scheduled to go can mean different things to different people.
So you can create a planner that says, these are the times, but I think charter always puts something in somebody's mind that says, we have to be one group to hire one plane to go somewhere, because that's what charter really means to some people.
Yeah, but a charter doesn't necessarily mean to that. Charter can be even a group of two operators can get together and charter the plane as a group.
Okay.
So you can have 3 or 4 tour operators in there buying this capacity together and then selling it to the general public as a package.
As a package.
So when we use general public, we tend to look at something like a 1-person, 2-person, a group, a few people in a group and so on. But do you understand what I'm getting?
I do.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most exciting things about your product is you have a range of products, not just an airline. You also have a bus product, a coach, which can take you around South Africa for 7 days, see the daisies. Because we've got such an awesome country, you really can travel for 7 days and see a lot of it. Not all of it, because I've seen people try and fit the whole country into 7 days. I'm not sure how they do that.
You can only
pick an area.
You can only do that if you fly with our hopper.
That's also true.
We got a hopper, which is a crazy product, and what the hopper does is it belongs to the tourism company, the hopper, and we take flights. We sequence them in a certain way, and then we take a package and we run that package on that sequence. And domestically, it's not difficult to do. you can make the guy hop, and it's almost like a jump off bus, whatever, hop off bus.
Well, we used to, years ago we travelled to the States. We travelled, I think, in 1986. And in 1986, there was an airline called Republic Airlines. And what you could do was you bought a month's ticket, which would allow you to take flights around the States as long as you flew on standby. So we would always phone ahead of time and say, we want to go from this town to this town. And they'd say, okay, just fly at this time. It's the best because there's space available.
Okay.
So it was, and then I'm not sure what happened to the airline because I don't think it exists anymore. But I always thought, what a wonderful way to see South Africa. And your hopper does exactly that.
Yes. Now, if I can give you a scenario, Aviation Airlines in Brazil used to have one, which is a hopper, similar to our kind of one. You can't go to the same city twice.
Oh, really?
So what it does, it forces you to travel the country and exit at another point.
So it's like a multi-city product.
Yes, and it can go internationally. So here's an example. I flew into Sao Paulo. I then did a whole lot of stuff. Went out there by Manaus. Flew from Manaus into Canada. From Canada back to Rio. Rio via something else, and then out.
That's amazing.
So it's possible to do things.
And it's possible to do that here because we have inland countries like Swaziland and Lesotho, which are basically landlocked, and they don't have ports. But they've got airports.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to be able to include those countries in something like that.
Exactly. So the point being, it's a hopper. So now once you include a lot of ground stuff on the hopper, it gets even more exciting for tour operators. So now you can create itineraries, which is very difficult to put together. Because, for example, you could buy a 7-sector hopper on our service, and then it's packaged in 4 sectors of air and 3 sectors of ground.
Okay.
So let's say you took an Emirates flight, for example, and you came into Cape Town. Emirates operates out of Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. And this is a couple of airlines that do this. So you could come in at Cape Town. Instead of flying the first sector, you can say, okay, I want to do a ground-based operation for the first sector.
Okay.
So you can say, okay, I want to take a self-drive because I can know how to drive and whatever. Or you don't like it, you can take a transfer. You don't like it, you can take a seating coach. So these are the 3 mechanisms of ground operation. So you can mix ground operation with flight operation, but you don't have to have all the components yourself. So we can even buy in components. So that's why it's done by the tour operating company, this product.
So tour operators now have a bit more flexibility, because I think one of the things they've always been stumped with is the landing times and the departure times of flights don't always mix. I know when people come in from, I was looking at when we fly back from Kenya after doing the rally, there is a very early in the morning, like we sort of landed like 2:45 in the morning. And it's so difficult to then be able to check into a hotel because you get there so early, there isn't really a place for you to go. So yes, you can put your bag somewhere, but where do you go for coffee or something in the meantime? Because you aren't ready to go out and see something touristy.
Yeah, so you've hit the nail on the head with that. And this operation, in fact, even the flight to Can Airline, it's not geared for businessmen. It's geared more for tour operators and tourism products. So our timings are designed around that. The timings are designed around maximizing efficiency of operation for the tour operator. So, for example, if you landed up in Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha, and you decide, okay, the flight's going to come into Gqeberha and then leave. So there's a sequencing time that you want to make as part of your own operation.
Correct.
And you want to give the guy maybe after checkout some tour and then go and do the flight, and then on the other side do another tour wherever he's going. So you maximize his whole day.
His time, absolutely.
Especially people that got limited time for the tour.
Because you tend to find, as a tourist, you're often hanging around. It's not that you have to do everything every minute of the day, but it would be nice to have something that works as a tourist. And I think that's what you've designed.
And our tourists travel business class. It means the aircraft is waiting for them, moving.
That's amazing.
Basically, they don't have to wait. It's almost like a business.
So the guys don't have to arrive at the airport 3 hours beforehand and hang around.
No, because we know where they are. So we can group book them in, we can group check them in. a lot of things you can
And does
do.
your ground transportation kind of take them from one point to another to get to the airport? Do you have ground transportation
Yes,
as well?
because remember, depending which package you bought and what product you bought from us, if you bought a hopper, you'll be at the points where the hopper changes. So if you were changing from a vehicle to an aircraft, that will be at the airport. So
Okay.
you don't have to leave the car now downtown and deal with all those things. You basically just take the car and drop it off like you do in the US, and you carry on and you fly out, and everything else will be taken care of.
I just think some of your products that we've recently spoken about as well is the opportunity of being able to buy into a pod in the townships, for instance, or into a mall, because I see some of your products really need to be only yours, really, because you can keep a tour operator really busy just with your products.
Yes. So what we did was we made a situation where we have three mechanisms of distribution. One is a consultant, which is an individual using a computer or a small computer, handheld one, and going to sell to people at a coffee shop, for example, or in a library, or via Facebook, or via
one of those,
or via the library. The tap party. And the second would be a fully fledged pod, what you call a pod, it's actually a kiosk, if you can call it that, inside in a shopping center, and we allow our franchisees to move these kiosks for 3 times at no charge till they find
Wow.
the best position, and then they can lock it into that position. And the rent is a little bit higher, but the traffic flow is more higher, obviously, and they get the better result. The township ones are much cheaper, but they do exactly the same as the kiosk. The only difference is you don't have to pay higher rent,
correct?
because you can rent a whole house with a yard and everything that faces the street, or put your container there. And these are bright yellow containers.
That's brilliant.
It almost works like a signal.
Like a beacon.
Like a beacon.
So essentially, do you do all the branding on the container, and do you build what the client needs?
We do everything else. The containers are standards. We don't want them to do anything funny. These are like a KFC type branch.
Correct.
If a customer sees it, he must know exactly what's in
That
there.
it's yours.
And he must know exactly how it operates. It can be no new things. It has to be done at group level to change.
And I presume the software and everything that you use on your computers is all linked to a main system, that when you call up, let's say for instance you have a special because there's a few spaces left on a tour that's leaving in a week, you can announce that, hey guys, the last 3 seats we can give you at X price, and they all get it at the same time.
Yes, obviously the TV monitors at each of these mall stores and containers have an IP address, and these are the information to those screens are sent by internet. So they got an IP address, so you can send it physically to a specific computer.
That's amazing.
And the beauty with that thing is we can specify a special for a specific region even.
So you can really drill down to the very specifics.
Yes.
And I think that's certainly much nicer than somebody who has generic products. They have one product or one supplier, but many products, rather than having many suppliers and one product, because it works better.
Yeah, it works better, number one. Number two, our franchisees don't pay royalties or advertising.
And you cover all of those as part of the
Those
fees.
are part of our production costs.
Very nice.
So the advantage is they get it at the lowest price, because otherwise other guys would externalize the capability, and then the external company add a margin onto it, costing the production time more.
And when are you launching this product?
Well, we basically already started with the media launch, if you can call it that, and we are getting a lot of noise from different quarters about.
I'm sure.
They're
I'm sure
also
there's a
very-
lot of people that are running a mile.
They're very scared of the product, and they're even using other people to try to irritate us, if you can call it that. I don't get scared easily, so it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you. Well
In fact,
done.
the more they irritate me, the more I try. So they have a problem.
But I think that's such an ingenious way of doing something, because if you want to own space, you have to go out there and be brave. You've got to say, guys, this is my space. And if you want to come and join the space, there's certain things I will allow you to do and certain things I won't allow you to do.
Yeah.
And I think as a business model, that's a perfect business model.
Yeah, look, the funny thing about all of this is there are some airlines that really don't understand our product. They can actually benefit from it. And because they're scared, they react in a certain way. So I'm just going to do what I need to do, and the customer will get what he wants at the end of the day at the right price.
Because I've noticed, for instance, with the coach companies, we're going to now test a coach on the way back to Joburg that has a sleeper couch facility, and it allows you to sleep overnight and gets me to Joburg. And I think talking about what you've got and saying, you know what, if I arrive somewhere and I need to coach to a town that's not far away but a little bit away, I at least know that there's a connection because you've created that connection. Because I think when we book on the internet and there's this faceless person that we don't know, how do you, when you miss a connection, who do you phone? You can't phone a webmaster. You have to phone somebody who did the booking, that person. There's a real person behind it that can say, actually, we've connected you to this bus, therefore it has to wait for you. It will transfer your luggage from here to here, and we take care of that for you.
Yes.
And suddenly, as a tourist, I'm so much more comfortable coming to a country where I know it's all seamless.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of the sites, even airline sites or hotel sites that want to sell air tickets the opposite way, is that they're not selling you a package. What they're selling you is components of a package.
Correct.
And what's missing there is the management of those components to make it into a proper package. So if you apply the management principle to it,
Correct.
then it's like having your private travel agent 24 hours on call.
I always say, you know what, I don't leave this country unless there's a travel agent attached to my ticket. Because when I get to where I'm going and there's a problem or there's a problem with my connection, I need to find a person, not a webmaster. And I'm always so happy to pay that travel person the money that they ask for, because absolutely worth it when there's a problem with a connecting flight because there's a delay. It doesn't matter. They cannot travel without you, or they have to give you an ongoing ticket because there's been a connection. And there's somebody you can phone.
Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. Try phoning another country out of hours. Outside the hours.
And there's nobody there.
And there's nobody there. That's the first thing. Second thing is when there is somebody there, check the bill.
Oh my word.
You're going to be on a foreign one, you're going to have a serious bill issue. The money that you're going to be spending is crazy.
No, that's, and I think the road that you're on of combining all these components into a package, as you were saying, components and packages are two different things. Components are not married, packages are. And when you travel overseas, so if somebody's coming over here, they're traveling overseas. If we're going somewhere else, we're traveling overseas. But it's so cool to know that there's somebody taking care of you.
Yeah, and overseas.
And well done for that.
Overseas got a funny connotation. Because if you travel over land, it's also going overseas.
It is too.
You see, it's the same kind of problem that you have with a schedule and an unscheduled.
So now, where can people find you? You know, if they want to be a consultant, I think just before we wrap up, you were also talking earlier about a tachogob.
Yes.
Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so the tachogobs are people that are specially trained in 5 functions, and these 5 functions are required to carry out all our jobs on these packages efficiently and correctly. So we rely on tachogobs to do this job. The training for the tachogobs doesn't exist currently. There's no course in the university you can go get, or a college, they call it the tachogobs course. They'll sell you a watered down version of a tourism course, which doesn't work. We have to be training for things that operators require. So this is the problem. So we realized that, so we had to put a course together, and this course gives you the training, initially 4 months intensive and then 12 months on an experiential basis. And during that experiential basis, we're doing both theory and external work, and you get to see how the product is working.
And you obviously talking about things like air crew, the air hostesses and hosts that walk up and down the...
Yeah, they don't call them hostesses.
Oh, what do they call them?
Cabin attendants.
Oh dear. Okay, cabin attendants. So the cabin attendant.
Or cabin crew.
And what other types of... so if I want to get into the airline industry, and what choices do I have to become? Do I become a pilot? Can I become a pilot?
You can. So we have a couple of programs, and because we realized many years ago there's going to be a shortage of pilots at some point, well, that shortage has come and it's here. So what we're doing is we're allowing pilots at school, grade 10, 11 and 12, to enter our production of pilots. And we have our own training center. So we train these pilots during school holidays. And by the time they finish matric, within 6 months they are operational, ready to be used.
Goodness me.
Yeah, so they are the fastest you're ever going to get a pilot from leaving school to getting them into the air. And
That's amazing.
And after that 6 months of training after they leave school, they'll do 12 months of experiential training, where we pay them a stipend, which is not a bad stipend. And then after that 12 months is up, they would have had the necessary hours, which is about 500 hours total time. And then we employ them full time at our airline and different products and different things that they do.
So you're able to, for instance, if we open these pods, and you're looking at opening the pods in malls and in container type environments, and they decide to open this, they can also look at taking those youngsters that have done the training.
Not that one.
No, but I'm saying the guys who want to be air crew or what do you call them, cabin attendants, just to learn a bit about the ground packaging of when the guy gets on the aircraft, how he actually got there.
We teach them that anyway, because every pilot of ours gets a consultant program.
Okay, so he does
for
anyway.
free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so what happens
So his mom can keep in touch with where he is.
Well, also, he's probably going to make more money than his parents, because that consultant program allows him to sell through their mini handheld computer, right? And they can sell it to friends, family, relatives, anybody they meet. We have no restrictions. You can have your salary plus extra.
That's amazing. Well done. Because that really looks after a lot of the economic issues that our youngsters are facing. And I think they look at going overseas as a solution. But I always think we've got so many shortages in this country because of the exodus. I think it would be much nicer to look at what we can offer and actually look at what's on offer here. And you've got the solution.
I got even better. We haven't spoken about our labor.
You have too. You've got the lay-by holiday solution.
Yes, so all of our products are capable of being bought cash, which we won't complain about. Or if you prefer, you can have lay-by without interest, which is better than cash. It means you can save your money and conserve it and pay it. And we have an affordable holiday by paying it over the period with no interest.
And do you have properties that you're starting to develop? Because at one stage we talked about properties that you're developing.
We are.
So really exciting things for South Africans to get involved in.
In fact, we had a WTM Africa in Cape Town, and believe it or not, we've already signed a few more deals, or we're busy signing a few more deals. And these include flight and hotel ops.
Wow.
And in fact, one of the hotel guys is so intrigued by the product, he wants to buy 2 of the aeroplanes and also be part of the chain, the value chain.
Absolutely.
So we don't have a problem with anybody. You want your own buses, you come visit us, we'll make a deal with you, and then you'll be able to become part of the family.
That's very exciting.
So this is what we're doing. So we're allowing people that own microbuses or these quantums or these transporters and so on, and the 30, 40 seater buses, luxury ones, 52 seaters. You can syndicate them. You can have a few guys together that you put together.
That's very
syndicate
exciting.
it, and we'll operate it, and then you'll be part of the network.
Well, I think I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said it's often that people, even though there's an indirect flight somewhere and there's a flight that goes from one place to another, but it doesn't cover a specific area, nobody thinks about kind of combining products and combining what you have. They look at it as components. And now you're talking about training, you're talking about having labour holidays, you're talking about the pods. So you've actually combined a lifestyle that you can offer families and people who've got kids who need work. And I mean exciting work, not let's go and dig a trench. We're sort of saying, well, if I'm going to give you a university degree, why don't I rather give you a business that will give you a guarantee for the rest of your life if you work hard enough, rather than give you a university degree. I mean, for me, that makes so much sense.
So if you look at this whole ecosystem we created, it's got human resource development in there, it's got transport in there, it's got aviation in there, it's got tourism in there.
Wow.
And it all comes together.
And does the government see this and see what you're doing and say, let me give you some money?
No, unfortunately, they give the money to their buddies, and then the buddies waste the money.
That's so sad,
and
though.
generate zero pilots and zero whatever they want to do.
Because what you're doing is so it's so encompassing, because you're able to give this community a lifestyle, because they're able to work towards their lifestyle, not just, well, go to varsity and hope you get a job afterwards. Because so many of these kids are going to study, well, subjects I don't understand, but they'll come out on the other side with a degree they can't use. And then suddenly it's like, well, I can't find a job. It's like, well, I should have given you just a pod as your investment, because a pod would give them work for life.
Yeah, and also besides that, there's nothing stopping you from, what is this thing you're making? There's nothing stopping you from owning the pod and studying further. Because, in fact, we got a program that once you join our program, and you haven't got a matric, we want you to do adult basic education training to get at matric. So we'll pay for that.
Wow.
The idea being that we want our student, the people that come into our system who has the necessary skills to do their job, get it and build them up slowly and move them on.
I think you should be on the cover of a magazine.
And then there's more things. If you want to learn languages or be a guide, a tour guide, those will do in the top 20% of the students that go through the system. That top 20, we will reward them with more training at our cost.
That's just amazing. And how do people find you?
How do you mean? How do they find? Oh,
to contact you.
Yes. So you can go on C-Stay Play. It's a TV radio station. You can also go on www.amrho.com. It's spelled AMRHO.com. Otherwise, in pneumatics or Alpha, it's Alpha Mike Romeo Hotel Oscar.com.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. I hope you have a great time at WTM, because I can't understand why we aren't all rushing off to invest in what you're doing. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm Janine Preston from Life is a Beach with Murad Ismail from Amrho Tourism.